Hey everybody, this is Lynn Marape and Alan Walker. Welcome to FinTalk, the podcast that covers all things fintech and YD Pay. Today, Alan will be talking to us about cross-border payments with regards to the various challenges and opportunities associated with cross-border transactions. So, extremely excited to be getting into this. This is episode 1. Fintech is definitely on the rise, especially in Africa. So, jumping right into question 1, there are currently numerous cross-border payment solutions available to the public. Opportunity has always arisen for new entrants through the exploitation of gaps in existing service provision. So, what is your unique value proposition? In other words, what are you doing differently from all the other mainstream fintechs that are popping up?
Yeah, I think from our side, our primary focus is Africa. So we've built a technology stack around the challenges that exist in Africa. We live, we breathe, and we eat Africa.
Yes.
We are also we've been here for as established businesses for over 20 years. As a resident of Africa and a citizen of Africa, I know we have our own set of unique blessings, but at the same time, we have our own unique set of challenges. And harnessing around particularly the challenges we have here in Africa. And having been heavily involved in the telecommunications space as part of the group, we're well aware that not everyone has an iPhone. Not everyone has the latest and greatest gadget out there. And more importantly, not everyone has access to hyper-fast internet. I think the two of us are very blessed to be able to do an HD call now. But the sad reality is the vast majority of Africa won't have access to those types of technologies. So our unique selling proposition has really been that we've built a technology that caters for everyone across the ecosystem. So somebody that is on a low bandwidth connection, we've got USSD options available. Somebody that is on a hyper fast connection, we obviously have full-fledged applications as well. So really from that perspective, from a 60,000 foot view is we built it with the focus on Africa. We'll unpack some of the technology, I hope, in the next couple of minutes, but really our mandate, our vision, our values is built on Africa. And we hope to achieve those goals with the commonality of Africa. I think adding to that, unlike every other provider, and you spoke about new entrants into the market, but I'd like to include the existing entrants and the big, call it the unicorns in the market now. We're not coming in to take everyone's customers. We're not coming in to aggressively try steal or try push somebody out of the market. We're coming in from a completely agnostic perspective. We're wanting to build a single platform, and that's exactly what we've done. The sense of Ubuntu, the togetherness. We want to connect with everyone. We want to connect with every payment provider. We want to connect with every bank. We're not trying to completely disrupt the status quo. We simply bringing a unique proposition and a unique application that is bringing our experience in the telecommunications space. We're building it from within Africa. And with that, we've come up with some incredible technology and some incredible advances around what we're doing in that space. And once again, it's a good call that we have now. There's a lot to unpack, but where we can, we'll offer a competitive advantage. And we're wanting to bring that to every provider out there. If you're call it a startup or you're a long-established business and you like what we've done, we want to partner with you. We don't want to exclusively hold something because this is what we do. We want to unpack that and bring that to everyone in Africa, no matter who you are, no matter who your customers are.
Mm.
and no matter who your partners are as well.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Before diving into, exactly how this technology works, especially as it pertains to speaking to, or more so addressing the typical problems found across Africa. You mentioned the lack of connectivity, the lack of people not having cell phones. What really stood out to me is basically the notion of collaboration being the new competition, because I love the fact that you also brought up that, yes, there are startups and fintechs that are popping up, at record rates, but there are those well-established unicorns, as you called them, that
Mm,
can definitely learn from the newer fintechs that are coming. Because what I've noticed is that the fintech industry is growing at an exceptional rate. You, of course, know this better than anybody. So, just speaking to that technology, do you mind unpacking that a little bit for
mm.
us in terms of how it addresses those specific African challenges?
Yes, 100%. So, in terms of our technology, and what I'll do is I'll give a very short, brief answer in
Mm-hmm.
that. Firstly, we're not a unicorn. We don't have a development team of several hundred resources available. Um, but the positivity that brings is we're able to build technology solutions, and are able to build systems much quicker and release them into market. Firstly, at relatively low cost to the end user,
Mm-hmm.
but more importantly, we're able to change very quickly, whether it's
Okay.
as a result of regulatory landscape changes or as a result of uh, new competition or new entrants into the market,
Mm.
which is where our partnership becomes so important, and is probably our biggest selling point. However, deep diving into that technology,
Mm-hmm.
we as we focused on Africa and the African citizen, we brought payments to anyone, to no matter what your standing is, no matter whether you're on the blockchain, whether you have a bank account, whether you are operating purely in a mobile money space.
Mm.
Um, we see the opportunity across the entire spectrum. So from that perspective, we've built a technology that allows a simple street vendor to have a
Mm.
scan to pay logo put on their cart, or put on their site, of a click to pay button. And when somebody pays you, they can pay you however they want to be paid,
Mm.
including the entire blockchain layer. So if
Okay.
I've got Bitcoin or Ethereum, you are selling apples on the side of the street.
Yeah.
I could simply scan your code. I could pay with Bitcoin. I could pay with Ethereum. You would receive those funds directly into your chosen method, whether it was mobile bank, or whatever other method exists out there.
Mm.
So from that perspective, it opens up any potential customer or any recipient in Africa to an entire payment ecosystem.
Mm.
Um, and especially as you alluded to, the rapid growth of fintech in Africa. I think very quickly following that is the rapid growth of e-commerce platforms,
Yeah.
and having a provider that can give you a single integration, a single button or a single shopping cart, and you can accept payments in, as I indicated, blockchain, the traditional payments. It makes your time to go live a lot quicker, and more
Mm-hmm.
importantly, it makes your development costs significantly cheaper as well. And I'll be pleased to report that our actual operational costs to the end user are the lowest in the market. We're
Wow.
offering highly competitive exchange rates. We are
Okay.
offering um, a quicker settlement time. We've also got a technology platform that for the first time allows real-time settlement within the blockchain layer. So
Mm-hmm.
gone are the days of having your friends send you some, call it cryptocurrency. You have to wait 15 minutes for the exchange to evaluate that payment, for that exchange to go through a proof of stake, proof of work. If I
Mm-hmm.
send Lynn money now through our application. Lynn will
Mm-hmm.
receive it instantaneously.
Wow.
And more importantly, specifically on that blockchain layer, it's a full non-custodial wallet, which means that unlike these horror stories you've heard of the likes, we were hurt quite badly, not us personally, but Africa, by the FTX collapse in November last year, where a significant number of citizens of Africa lost significant wealth as a result of that crash. The way we've built our wallet is it's completely independent of the exchange. We have
Wow.
a
Okay.
slogan throughout our partners, not my keys, not my money.
Okay.
Which means that that money, you need to see it in the exact same way that you see a physical wallet. You have a little bit of cash in your wallet that sits in your back pocket. You know it's there.
Okay.
If your bank goes out of business today, the money that's in the bank is gone, but the money that sits in your wallet is still yours until you use it to pay. Our blockchain layer operates in the exact same model. And we've adopted the same functionality in the entire ecosystem. So even if you don't want to use our wallet, and you have an existing wallet with any of the major providers out there, we fully embrace and we fully connect with you as well. You can bring your wallets into our ecosystem with no problem at all. And we found that that's probably really our ultimate technology advantage, is the embracement of everyone out there, and as many partners as we can get, has given us a technology that sets us apart, both from a reseller or from call it an e-commerce provider, but at the same time from the everyday person on the street. You don't need to have a blockchain wallet. You don't need to even understand anything about cryptocurrency at all. You can accept it. You specify how much you want to get paid in your local currency, and our system will do all the work for you and make sure you get that money into your account.
That is amazing. Wow. Obviously,
No, we're very
a lot
excited.
of a lot of advantages to, jumping onto this. And you obviously have a lot of experience, as you said, in the African market as a whole. So I really love how you were able to leverage not only the emerging trends, but to also just really focus on killing those challenges and finding opportunities within those challenges, and of course, catering to everybody who has a fintech background or not, or doesn't even have a bank account. And yeah, definitely e-commerce is on the rise. Being in Joburg or just South Africa in general, I think it can be said about Africa as a whole, how people are just so incredibly innovative and find all these ways to make money as well. So I really, really loved everything that you just had to say. And before we go any further, I feel like that would be a perfect time to take a little bit of an ad break so we can hear a word from our sponsors, YDPay. With over 15 years experience in African solutions, YDPay sources the best rates without hidden fees, all while ensuring that your data is secured and protected within their global technology stack. Built with the best-of-breed technology solutions with inbuilt compliance, banking, and reporting frameworks, YDPay's service-based framework provides multi-currency pay-in and pay-out solutions for both fiat and blockchain solutions. Getting started is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Register on the YDPay platform, upload your identity and residential documents, and voila! You're ready to send and receive payments in 40 currencies. Sending and receiving money has never been this quick and easy. So what are you waiting for? Start transacting today. This message is sponsored by YDPay, the safest and easiest way to connect with Africa. Now, back to the show. And we are back. So now we're just going to switch gears a little bit to exchange rates. So they are naturally outside the purview of payment platform operators. However, some operators offer better rates than others, such as yourself. So please unpack this a little bit for me in terms of now your approach as a service provider. I mean, you have already stated, you've practically answered this question as well. So maybe if there's anything else that you would like to add about
Yep.
your unique selling points.
Yeah, I think from an exchange rate perspective,
Mm-hmm.
any entity, whether you know, the apples of the world with, you know, a multi-billion-dollar valuation,
Mm-hmm.
or a small startup, we're ultimately at the control of global exchange rates. And essentially, it's going back to economics 101, it's supply and demand.
Mm.
However, that being said, there are several nuances in the market, some good, some not so good. The
Mm-hmm.
first one, and the one that every entity can control, is obviously your operating costs. And I'm not saying you cut back to the point where it degrades the product,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, we as an entity competing against an entity that has 100 developers,
Yeah.
we obviously don't have the significant cost base that they do, and we're able to pass those savings directly onto the rates we give into the market.
Mm-hmm.
But from an exchange rate perspective, there are obviously challenges any startup will face, and even some of the big so-called unicorns in the industry now, is that this is Africa. You know, I love that saying. I use it throughout as many times as I can. TIA. And as a
TIA.
citizen of Africa, we find that we tend to be the Swiss Army knives of any organization. So often, you know, the plumber comes to your house, he will also rewire your geyser while he's there. In the rest
Mm.
of the world, an electrician comes to do one job, a plumber comes to do another job, a bricklayer comes to do another job. And
Yeah.
in Africa, we're very fortunate in that we have to make do because this is
Yeah.
Africa.
Yeah.
But that being said, one of the challenges in Africa is some of the regulatory bodies and some of the central banks, they tend to believe their currency is valued at a higher rate than it really is. So they
Mm.
will actually peg their currency to another currency, generally a major market currency,
Mm-hmm.
more often than not the US dollar. So
Okay.
they will come up with a number and they will say, today we are valued at, call it 500 of our currency to $1.
Mm-hmm.
But the challenge is although the central bank, being the ultimate head of exchange control in a country, has set that rate, you find that the rest of the market, due to supply and demand, actually might value it significantly lower. So maybe
Mm.
600 to the dollar or 700 to the dollar. And then
Yeah.
what happens is we have a parallel market being built. So, as an organization, you ultimately have a choice. Do I choose to align with the central bank
Okay.
and stay above board, or do I enter the parallel market and essentially call it street trade on a currency to get a better rate?
Mm.
So that gives call it, I don't want to say an unfair advantage, because ultimately there is a risk in doing that, and there's some big cases that have occurred in Central and East Africa, where large players have attempted to play that parallel market, offered better
Mm.
rates into the market,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day, as an organization, because our partnership and our structure isn't just extending to other entities, it's also extending to the local regulatory bodies,
Yeah.
where our system works well, the citizens benefit. The citizens of Africa benefit. They're able to perhaps have additional or multi-revenue streams, being able to work outside of the continent, receive those funds in a major market currency, get paid locally. So our partnership with those regulatory bodies isn't just about getting a tick box. It's
Mm-hmm.
also, we want to partner with them to help grow their citizens, improve the quality of life throughout Africa. So obviously we have to compete with those that choose to play in those parallel markets. But ultimately, there is a warning that they could be shut down at any moment or receive a significant fine and have their bank accounts closed, and then your money ends up sitting in limbo. The other unfair, call it practice, is around netting off. So many of the large providers, what they will do is they will buy and sell multiple currencies. But say there's a significant portion of money leaving a country. So in my, call it my local bank account, and I'll use maybe Ghana as an example. So I'll have, say, Lynn is a citizen of Ghana. She wants to send money out of Ghana. She will pay, say, 10,000 Ghanaian shillings into my entity's GHS bank account. I will then not trade that GHS because I will keep it in my bank account, and maybe I've got an inflow that I'll be able to use those funds. And then I will pay you out in euro or to your family in the UK or however that wants to however you want that flow to work. The challenge is I've now got 1,000 Ghanaian shillings that I've actually potentially bought from you and sold a euro at a very specific rate. But the challenge is 1,000 Ghanaian shillings are quite easy to manage. But if I'm sitting with 100 million Ghanaian shillings, all of a sudden, as an entity, I now need to get rid of them. So the only way I can get rid of them very quickly is to offer a rate that is unique to me, because I'm simply dumping the GHS and trying to make a little bit of money on the other side because perhaps the market has moved. However, the challenge is everyone else in the market. If I'm wanting to, say, buy GHS and sell euro at the moment, and I'm going through a tier one bank or I'm going through a trading partner, I will get a different rate that you're able to offer to your customers. Many regulatory bodies, firstly, they either frown on this practice. However, in certain jurisdictions, and as an example, South Africa, we've got some of the strictest exchange control regulations on the continent, actually makes that an illegal practice. So short of fines, short of being shut down, there's possible criminal sanctions against directors of businesses for doing that. I believe the rest of the African continent will slowly catch up with these providers as Africa becomes citizens of the world. You know, pre-COVID, COVID was terrible, but it actually brought a significant amount of innovation. And particularly on the African continent, the idea of having access to a highly skilled resource at a cheaper rate allowed the likes of you and me to actually work for companies that don't have a presence in Africa, that have no intention of building an operation in Africa, but want access to a highly competent skill set at a rate that they cannot get in their local jurisdictions. And the one thing about what Africa is, and I'll say it again, we must be some of the hardest working people on the planet. We start work as the sun rises. We don't put our phones away at night. I've had conference calls with some of our directors and shareholders 2-3 o'clock in the morning because we just happen to be awake and have an idea and start talking about things. Not that I'm against work-life balance, but at the same time, I'm particularly excited about what we do, and I'm very passionate. I think that's probably coming through, hopefully, in this podcast.
It definitely is. And, just speaking to how hardworking Africans are, I think we are also equally resilient, Those of you watching out there can definitely relate to load shedding, and that has definitely thrown a huge spanner in the works. You mentioned COVID. That was just one of the challenges. And, that definitely happened at a global level. But, load shedding definitely has affected the economy tremendously. So So, we can talk on and on about this. And I'm pretty sure we are
Mm.
going to pick up this conversation in episode 2, because there
Yep.
are a lot of things to discuss when it comes to cross-border payments, especially as
Mm.
it pertains to regulations and, the ever-changing exchange rate that is completely out of your control. I love,
Mm-hmm.
how you mentioned this whole dichotomy between the parallel markets, as you said, and then just doing things according to the regulations that are also
Mm.
ever changing,
Yep.
as the market evolves in different ways. So, without further ado, I would just like to end things over here. I hope you guys have definitely gotten excited about YD Pay and all that they offer. I know I certainly have. So if you have anything else that you want to just add quickly before we wrap up, Alan, you are more than free to do so.
Yeah, no, I just thank you so much to everyone that's really listened. The vision and values around our entity are the growth of Africa. Whatever we need to do from a technology perspective, that's our ultimate focus, and I hold
Mm-hmm.
on to those values personally.
Mm.
I'll say it again. This is Africa, TIA.
TIA.
My roots are very deep on this continent.
Yeah,
I have no intention of kind of going over at any time. So,
love that.
from outside of the payment space,
Mhm.
we building something for Africa.
Love that. Honestly, couldn't have ended it in a better way. So without
Mm.
further ado, thanks for listening to FinTalk with Alan Walker and Lynn Murape. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive into cross-border payments. That's all for this episode, everybody. See you next week.